What's happening YouTube? In today's video, I'm out shooting street photography at night in New York City. Basically, I was passing through New York City. I was in Long Island, I was on my way back home. I parked in Brooklyn for like an hour and a half and decided I'd just take a walk around, try and walk across Brooklyn Bridge, take some photos, see if I can make some street photos in New York City because it's New York City. And I would have felt terrible if I drove through New York City and not stopped and at least tried to make some photos. Alright, so my original plan was to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge and into Manhattan, and after about a 10-minute walk I realised I wasn't even on the Brooklyn Bridge yet, so I gave up and just thought I'll do a cityscape from here and then I'll double back and just walk around Brooklyn. This was the first one I got and it's okay, but I wanted to try it in the horizontal orientation. So I switched it around and I tried to balance my camera so that I could do a longer exposure. And once all the traffic was moving again, I got this one. And this one I like a lot more. And with a little editing, I made it a little bit cooler in Lightroom. I feel like it's got kind of a Blade Runner-y sort of futuristic city look. I like the colour of this one. I like the sort of blue tones. And coming down this little tunnel thing that takes me off of the path towards Brooklyn Bridge and back into Brooklyn, these folks were walking down in front of me, so I just started shooting some photos, kind of framing them in that patch of light there. And I got this one. It looks okay. It actually looked better on the GoPro with the wide angle lens, but I just have the 35f2 and it's kind of more cropped in, so I don't like it as much. Alright, the nice thing about Brooklyn Heights is there's lots of like fancy bars and restaurants, so there's tons of people kind of milling around in different windows around here. And this first cafe that I'm walking up to, there's a girl in the window and she didn't notice me or anything. And this was my first attempt at a window cafe shot of the day. I quite like this one. Maybe could have done with a bit more light on the girl's face or something like that, but not a bad start. This next window I just thought was really cool, and I was kind of bummed that there wasn't someone doing something in the background of it. A couple blocks over, I see this woman who is like ringing the doorbell of an apartment to get in. And just as I get there, she like opens the door and moves in, so I missed it, but she had a nice green hat on and this sort of like fur coat, and I feel like it would have been a really cool picture. I just didn't take the picture fast enough and I'm kind of bummed about that. Probably could do to crop it a little bit as well. There might be too much negative space on the bottom and on the right hand side there. Alright, coming onto the Brooklyn Promenade, shooting another cityscape of Manhattan here. I feel like whenever you're in New York, you can't help but shoot cityscapes all the time, and it's not as if this shot hasn't been taken a million times before. I balance my camera on this wall here and I make kind of a not long exposure, but longer exposure shot. But I don't like it as much because of these buildings in the bottom, so I decided to walk a bit further on so I can get those out of there. So further along the promenade, when I've got a better view, I don't have a nice brick wall to balance the camera on, so I have to balance it like in between the spikes and this fence. So I'm kind of holding it up against the spikes and just pressing the button and hoping that I don't shake the camera. And I think this was like a 6-second exposure. It comes out nice and clean. Again, that kind of, I took the warmth out of the picture. Has that kind of, I like the futuristic kind of tone, the kind of blue tones. It makes it feel more, a little bit more urban or something like that in my opinion. And then I also balanced the camera again to try and take a distant shot of the Statue of Liberty over there. I just see this piece of light that like lights it up in the distance, and I think it looks really cool. It's a shame there's like a whole bunch of industry, and maybe that's a stadium. I don't know what it is over on the left hand side, but if there was less lights there, I feel like it'd be really cool. I guess I could Photoshop those out. Yeah, I bet it's sunset, or maybe with just a little bit more interest in the sky, this would be really cool. Then across the road there's a building with like a bright awning above it and it's all lit up, and some folks are walking through here. I wish it was just one person that was maybe dressed a bit more interestingly. And this shot's like fine. I like the light in it, but it's not really, I don't know, it's not a good composition, or I'm not close enough, there's too much going on in the frame. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't like it enough. And here's another restaurant with some people in the window. This was like a couple that look like they're on a date, but they're just looking at their phones or reading or something like that. Unfortunately, that shot didn't really come out as nice as I thought it would because they're not paying attention to each other. But then as I walk on, there's some people in the window here chatting, having dinner. And I get this shot here, which I like. I would probably crop it from the right hand side there. There's kind of nothing going on. But again, I wish there was like a more interesting subject or some character or a nicer hat or a nicer gesture going on in the picture. As I'm waiting across the road here, there's a guy on a bike just coming up the street in front of a car. So I thought maybe I'd get some interesting backlight, but actually he moved faster than I thought. And I got this one. So he's backlit a little bit by the car lights, but the lights kind of take over the shot because they're not directly behind the guy, so whatever. There's all this scaffolding on this alley. I think it was called like Pineapple Lane or Pineapple Alley or something like that. But anyways, there's a ton of scaffolding, and I really like all the shapes that the scaffolding makes. It looks kind of cool and geometric. So I waited here for a person to go down it, and nobody really walked down the middle, and I didn't feel like waiting much longer. But I like the light from the side in this. Had there been a figure just walking straight down the middle, that would have been awesome, but the people that were walking were on the left hand side. So now I see this pizza shop and there's guys working inside the store there, so I hung around outside for a second, waited for one of the guys to walk back up, and the guy didn't even notice me. He just went and grabbed this pizza box, and he goes to walk away, and for sure the guy in the background was watching me the whole time. He was looking at me thinking, what is this guy doing? And I kind of like this shot. I like the kind of framing from the window, and the light is pretty cool on the guy with the pizza box. I'm walking past this restaurant. I try and shoot a picture of these people eating in the window, but I don't like it. I don't like the shadows, I don't like the light. It's not great. And now we've got this restaurant where just the corner of the window is kind of steamed up, so I guess there's enough people in there that it's kind of humid inside. And there's a really cool neon light in the background, so I focus on the steam, and this lady that's behind it is kind of just becomes like a blurry shape, and I take a whole bunch of pictures here, and I'm trying to wait for her to get in the right position. As she moves forward, I can see more of her in the shot, but then she's like wiggling back and forward. And this one I really like. I like there's a little bit of the neon light coming through there. You can see this human figure through there, but you've got the nice blurred out lights in the background. And I also like this one because I get more of that light from that neon sign, get more different interesting colors, but there's less of a human element in this one. So I'm I'm struggling between the two, which I like more. And I've got one more cafe window again. Same problem, this person's just looking at their phone and there's not enough light on them, so moving on. And then another cafe window. This one turned out really good. I like the light inside. It was a nice sort of orange warm light. And this couple are like chatting to each other, and there's some cool gestures going on. It's kind of interesting looking scene. And we get this one here, which I quite like. It looks like they're in conversations, almost like there's a story there. Then I try one in vertical orientation, but I focus on the cafe sign and get them. They're in the background, still blurred out there, and it just says cafe on the window. It's more of an abstract, but there is something like recognizable in the frame as well, and I like that about it. Then slightly further on, this might be the exact same cafe that I was at before, the one that had the steamed up windows. And I noticed these curtains and the entrance and the waiter walking towards me. So I get a couple shots here. And this was my favorite one. I love the like deep red curtains. You can see the guy walking through in the background. He might have been looking at me, wondering what I was doing. And then he just goes to like the register or something like that. So I've still got him in the frame there. It's just framed a little differently, so I've got the push sign of the door on the left side. And this was one of my missed shots of the night. It would probably have been cool if I'd got that guy coming out that door. Then there's another window here. I see this, it's like a nice framed window with nice light inside. Would have been really cool if just a hand of a person pushing the door, kind of to add some interest to it. More scaffolding became kind of a theme of the night. I've found so much scaffolding in Brooklyn. And I followed this person for a second, trying to get a good framing where they walked in the middle. They didn't really get all the way into the middle, so they're off to the side slightly, which annoys me, but I really do like the tones in this one. That kind of futuristic blue tones again from those lights. Walking back to the car now, so I'm just shooting pictures as I'm going back. This guy on a bike, shot this one from the hip, so he's kind of out of focus, but he was like cycling into the rain, and I don't know, there was something about it I thought was okay. Then walking towards this window here, it was like a wide open street, so you get a good reflection of the city behind it, and this is kind of a selfie in the window, I guess. It's not a great picture, but I just like the sort of abstractness of it, but you can still see me in there, so it's obviously still a street scene. More scaffolding right outside the car park that I was in. There was a guy walking down the alley towards me, so I waited for him to get into that patch of light, which was right by the parking garage that I was in. And this one came out kind of cool. I like the dark areas in it and that light coming through from the right hand side there. So for an hour or so of photography in New York City, I feel like I did okay. It was a lot quieter than I expected it to be in that Brooklyn Heights area. I really thought there'd be like loads of nightlife and stuff, but it was kind of quiet, just cafes, some kind of chill bars. Not as many people walking around as I thought either. I was really hoping for just masses of people, but I guess you have to really be in Manhattan for that. And also for me not really knowing what areas of New York were the better areas to go for street photography, I feel like things came out okay. And actually there's 2 photos that I got that I really like, and definitely they'll make a nice photo set. The photo in that little sort of bar, cafe, restaurant place with the red curtains, I really like that one, and also the one with the steam on the window. I think those 2 photos go really nicely together, and maybe there'll be another photo from the set that will fit nicely as well with that. I'll throw that up on the screen right now if I feel like there's a good set of 3. And for someone that doesn't shoot a lot of cityscape photos, I quite like that cityscape of Manhattan. Nothing creative or new about that photo at all. Actually, both of them, the one from Brooklyn Bridge was a little bit more creative than the one from Brooklyn Promenade that you see. But yeah, they're kind of cool photos, and I would probably post one or both of them on Instagram at some point. So if you like these kind of POV videos where I just pop the GoPro on the camera and go out and shoot street photography and then talk about my process, hit that subscribe button. I make new videos every single week. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Drop me a comment down below. Tell me what picture you thought was the best one. And thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Cheers!